On Capitol Hill, lawmakers are weighing in on the conflict. It comes as the House of Representatives remains at a standstill ahead of an expected vote on a new speaker to come later this week. Congressman Jim Jordan and Steve Scalise are both set to make their bids for speaker to their colleagues tomorrow. CBS News congressional correspondent Nikole Killion joins us now from Capitol Hill. Nikole, good to see you. Congress is still at a standstill, as I was just mentioning, until a speaker is elected. How does that impact the response to this escalation in conflict from the United States?
Well, it impacts everything, because if an aid package, for instance, were to come before Congress, the House couldn't act without a speaker. And that is a point that former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy reaffirmed to reporters just a short time ago, saying that basically the House can't do anything. I did ask him more specifically about the broader situation and whether or not he thought Hamas might have exploited this situation, the lack of a speaker and the uncertainty that it has created in U.S. governance, whether that may have been a factor in this weekend's attacks. Take a listen.
Look, they had been planning it for quite some time. I think a number of things have transpired. I think a new administration that goes to appeasement, that didn't embrace Abraham Accords, that actually went after our allies like Saudi Arabia and rewarded those who were evil like Iran. That right there gives you challenges. Secondly, the president's decision when it came to Afghanistan. People then question, would America be there? We watched the culmination of this new axis of power, of evil, of China, Russia, and Iran. We watched the president when he met with Putin, that literally lifted the sanctions off Nord Stream 2, but got nothing in return. It was a Neville Chamberlain moment. We watched his attack on American energy production, lowering the SPRO, our Strategic Petroleum Reserve, is down to nothing. The price of oil is up higher. It's almost $100 a barrel. The production in America attacking it. Those are moments in time that are weakness. That is when evil feels they can move. And that's exactly what they did.
I also asked the former speaker as he headed back into his office whether or not he is continuing to get briefings on the situation in Israel. He told me no. And so that is another impact of this, because we know that typically the speaker is part of the Gang of Eight. That means no one from the House side, well, at least in his current position, is being briefed on this. We don't know, for instance, if the Speaker pro tem, Patrick McHenry, for instance, may be getting briefings on this. But in terms of Kevin McCarthy, he said that his answer was no. Now, the other thing worth pointing out is that some Republicans have been calling for McCarthy to be reinstated in light of this crisis. He was asked about that, whether he would be willing to step back into the role. He said it's up to the Republican conference.
Seems like a door has been left open there. Nikole, what kind of responses are you also hearing there? What I heard from former Speaker McCarthy earlier in that speech were kind of using an opportunity of what's happening in Israel to make very political or aggressive political statements and pointing fingers at the administration. Do you see this as becoming yet another deeply divisive issue in Congress and splitting people further apart?
Well, to a certain extent. I mean, I think generally speaking, in terms of the U.S. Congress, there is broad support to assist Israel in whatever capacity it can right now, even if it is limited for the time being with the lack of a speaker, but there is a lot of pointed reaction towards the Biden administration. For instance, that is something that we saw from Majority Leader Steve Scalise, also Jim Jordan calling for Israel's stockpiles to be replenished, Democratic leaders as well saying that we need to do whatever we can to assist Israel, and describing these attacks as horrific. There are also other members of Congress, for instance, Ilhan Omar, who expressed sympathy for the Palestinian people, said that we should pray for them. That did draw some criticism from the former speaker during his press conference, where he criticized some members of Congress for using anti-Semitic remarks. And he said that that should not be tolerated in this conference. Of course, we know in the past Ilhan Omar has been a member of Congress who has made statements about Israel, statements that she has apologized for, but there is a concern from that perspective in terms of a potential division, in terms of how some members of Congress respond to this. But again, the other issue is we know that Ukraine funding was also going to be something that the Biden administration would like to see this Congress act on, and that's certainly also now in question with the situation in Israel as well. So no matter how you slice it, there's likely to be certainly some political divisiveness around all of this as we continue to move forward.
Without a doubt, Nikole, you'll be following all of it. Thank you so much.
You bet.